Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request for Phil. Thank you so much for that. For those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. I do have a Cash App as well. People have asked about those. Links are down below in the info box, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. It could be any movie review or re-review, topic, random thoughts, commentary, stream if you want. Video game playthrough for an hour, full play, whatever the case would be. PayPal's usually the best way to do that. I'll get to it as soon as I can. For those who said to thank you, I really do appreciate it. And so, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's kind of interesting to look at this film again to see if it holds up, especially now that the new one's coming out next month. Now, before I start, let's go a bit backwards to the first film. When it was advertised, you had that horrendous trailer that just blew people's minds in the wrong way, in this case out of their asshole, because it stank that much. So it just was terrible, the design was terrible, the use of Dance's Paradise was confusing. It got horrendously ridiculed, and it deserved it. And lo and behold, they listened. The director, the studio listened. Sadly, I think the effects folks got overworked and other stuff happened. I'm sad that happened. But I have to be blunt and honest. It did come out with a better product. The way Sonic looks, it helped tremendously. Are there flaws with the film? Sure, when it deals with the human characters. But there's enough heart there. There's some, funny humor, some entertaining references, like to the film Speed. Hard for me to hate a film that references Mellow Yellow, because what film does that? So the fact that, Sonic's a Mellow Yellow drinker, it's just a little thing. Also, it was cool to see Jim Carrey in his 90s to 2000s energy with the way he approached the role. Say, wow, I forgot Jim Carrey could do this. Because so used to being in, the number 23 or like these weird, quirky, smaller roles, or try to be in drama, or just his own personal life, where he's doing these weird things that I don't exist, or whatever the hell he was going through, whatever the hell that was all about, which I still don't understand fully what the hell that was all about. I said, oh, yeah, that's the Jim I miss. That's the Jim I remember. It made for a fun, entertaining family film. Again, flawed, but fun. So we get the sequel, which you have this. Now, I keep the slipcover because there's a comic, actually, which I'll show. That's a bit of a prequel comic. So it shows Knuckles and what he was doing before. He defeats this big crab monster and he meets these creatures, and that's how we get to the beginning of this movie. We also see what Tails was doing, go on a journey to find Sonic, and then also Robotnik, Jim Carrey's character, and what he was doing during that time. So kind of a cool little novelty there. Now this is the actual poster. And my thoughts on the film, watch it again, I know, dramatic pause, right, is I still liked it. I do think it's not as good as the first film, but I do like the film. Like if I gave the first 4 out of 5, I would give this like maybe 3.5 out of 5. Because it does have, the plot. Knuckles finds Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. Knuckles is looking for, eventually Sonic, looking for the details for this Chaos Emerald Robotnik helps, but it's a way for him to get back to Earth. James Marsden and his new wife, they go to a vacation in Hawaii. Sonic is able to help them there with his rings to teleport them. He has the house all to himself that he's having fun with the family dog. But then, literally, Robotnik and Knuckles crash the party. He gets his ass kicked. Tails arrives, helps him out. They go on a journey to find what the bad guys are looking for. Yeah, some action sequences there. Eventually, Knuckles realizes what's going on, joins Sonic and Tails, and the three of them fight Dr. Robotnik, who's got this big, heavy, large-ass machine. And then eventually at the end, you'll see a bit of Super Sonic. So I didn't grow up a whole lot with the games because I didn't have a Genesis. I had a Super Nintendo and Nintendo. Then there was PlayStation after that. But my cousins had a Genesis, so once in a while we'll go over to their place and play a bit of their Genesis. Gunstar Heroes being one of them, and then this being one of them, the first one. I think the second game I played a little bit on the channel. Didn't play a whole lot of the 3D games. Like I know the one where he kisses a human, or no, like she kisses him, or what? That seemed pretty fucking weird. I didn't see that one, or I never played that one, or the one he turns to a werewolf or something. Never played that one either. There's some weird ass stuff, I'll say. But this seemed to rejuvenate the franchise a bit. Like I said, we have a third one coming out with Keanu Reeves as Shadow, which I'll give some of those thoughts maybe at the end of the video. But okay, the positives of the film. The guy who voices Sonic, I think he does a good job like he does in the first one. It fits Sonic. I thought Tails and Knuckles, Idris Elba, Tails, I think it's the actual voice actress who did Tails before, I believe. All three of them do a good job. They're fun characters to watch and interact. Knuckles, Idris Elba got some funny bits. Because he's a little bit, maybe not quite to the extreme, but remind me a little bit of Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy in the way Batista played him, where he'll take things a bit too literally or doesn't quite understand it 100%. But it's also about the warrior side. Again, remind me a bit of Drax, but that's not a bad thing. I thought Idris Elba, that was a good choice for that. I thought the effects for what they need to be worked fairly well for this kind of film. I thought the action scenes, whether it be the snowboard down the mountain, and then you have the bit of the slow-mo where he's hopping from one machine to the other and using one to blast all the rest. Thought that was fun. The references, whether it be Sonic on the plane that Tails is flying, or the Super Sonic where he's all yellow and just overpowered, completely decimating the machine. That's a good fun moment for the cast. I mean, for the fans, I should say. I'm sure the cast do, but for the fans. You know, the little Easter eggs, like a phone rings and it's the music playing is from the game. The do 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 do. That was cool. So there's a lot of good to it. Again, the stuff with Sonic, Knuckles, Tails, anything involving those characters and the action sequences are entertaining for what they need to be. Jim Carrey is still fun as Dr. Robotnik. He still has that energy and fervor like he did in the first game. I mean, in the first movie. He admits in that game movie, yeah. Well. It's not every day also that this type of film has a reference to Pantera. Where Jim Carrey's got this big machine and is walking down. I'm like, what's that? That music sounds familiar. Oh shit, it's Pantera. That's pretty cool. I will say, watching this again though, while I do like the film, there's a bit of disappointment. Obviously not a whole lot, because I still say I like the film. But I think there's things that they could have learned from the first movie that they didn't. The big thing is stop with the human characters. Not talking about Jim Carrey, he's fine. But the other human characters. James Marsden, I could deal with the first movie, but honestly, fuck James Marsden. Yes, maybe my opinion is changed a bit, quite a bit, because that Nickelodeon documentary came out on the set where we find out he wrote support letters to Brian Peck, who assaulted a child sexually. One of the stars of Drake and Josh. And in a court of law, wrote letters of support to the guy. And then when people called him out on it, he decided to be a pansy and not say anything, because if I don't say anything, then it don't exist. So he's a coward. He is a pedo supporter. He is a sicko. He's a fraud. And I wish they would kill his character off. I do. If you killed his character, which they won't, of course they won't, but if they killed his character off in the third film, I'd be happy. But of course, I know they won't do that. But anytime I saw him, I just did this. Anytime I see James Marsden, I just do this now. I know you're supposed to separate the art for the artist. Sometimes I don't care to do that. If you do, good. You're better than me. Congrats. To me, I see someone James Marsden like, don't care, piss on him. And every single bit with him and his wife and Hawaii and the wedding. There is an interesting edit you could do with this, where you take out almost every scene with them in it. Only keep what you need, further the plot. Like them going through the portal, they go to Hawaii, then you don't see him again until the phone rings, he picks it up, and then he's going down the mountain. There's a lot of editing. Just this film is like 2 hours long, or a little over 2 hours long. I'm trying to remember how long the first film was. Like, yeah, it's like 90-some minutes. The first film is 90-some minutes, but this is 2 hours and 2 minutes long because of stupid crap like the wedding. Even people who like the film, I have not met one person that says, I love that wedding stuff. It's so fantastic. No, it all sucks. And it takes so much of the movie that even when I was first watching, I'm like, I didn't even plan it. My stomach went, literally, you didn't hear that. If you did, you said, ugh. So if you heard that, there you go. Even my stomach sighed. I was ready to sigh. My stomach did it for me. Went, I don't blame you. I know. What the fuck? Because I don't care about the lady who got tied up in the first movie and she's getting married to this guy, and then the guy is part of this agency and there's all part of an undercover ploy in case Sonic showed up, and then they arrest Sonic and Tails, and then she's pissed that her husband, or husband-to-be, was a part of it, and then James Marsden gets arrested with them, so then Marsden's wife and the other girl, the bride-to-be, they have to go through this thing where they take Tails' inventions and they shoot a guy up in the air, and then this other girl goes on her go-kart or whatever and goes up crazy, and then all of a sudden, oh, the guy really does love her, and they kiss, and blah, blah. Who gives a rat's ass about any of this? No one cared. They still don't care. And it took so much of the movie that literally, if you took all that out, you would shave probably 20 minutes. And that shows how important pacing is to a movie. Because when those scenes happen, they kill the momentum. that you possibly could be having. And this is why one of the reasons I don't really look forward to part 3 is because I don't think they're going to learn any lessons, because I don't think they learned it from the first film. The lesson should be less humans, more the game. The characters, incorporate some of the environments from the game, which were inventive and crazy and really appealed to Sonic's speed. Don't get me wrong, in Sonic 2, some of the action scenes, like I said, are fun. The armored truck bit where he's pretending to be a superhero and he has to unscrew the whole truck so it just becomes, a seat and some wheel, not even wheels anymore. That's a pretty fun scene. The bits where they're going through the temple, and that bit where he's speeding through the temple and avoiding all the traps, including going to slow-mo, going underneath the flames. That looks cool. Even the bit where he goes and we see him kind of in the back and he turns and he runs off because a spiked thing is coming towards him. That seems like something that would be from the game. Even before the snowboard chase, when he grabs the missile and in slow-mo throws the missile back, and like I said, the whole snowboarding bit. The bit where all three characters are working together. And you see this one go where each one's doing the moves. Knuckles is throwing Sonic and Sonic is hitting some machines. Or Tails is grabbing Sonic and they're doing the spin thing. The way the characters are working together, the way that's implemented, is fun. It's a nice, satisfying bit for fans. Even as a guy who's a casual fan, that was fun to watch. But I think all those 20-some minutes of the wedding, you could put, if you need to be that running time, have more scenes of Tails and Sonic bonding. Have more scenes of their bonding. I said Jim Carrey, I still found fun with his character. I don't think when Sonic and Tails get to Siberia, that's where I was pausing to try to remember where that was, because they have to find this, the emerald. You gotta find this thing, you gotta find the MacGuffin, pretty much. You gotta find the MacGuffin, because the MacGuffin's all powerful. Did we really need a Siberian dance-off? Now, again, it's goofy, it's silly for the kids, and the kids to enjoy it. It is a way to show the two characters bonding, that they're in a situation and they're bond with each other, and you see that Tails has all these inventions, he can make copies of himself, which works out later in the film. So there's another reason to have that scene, is, he can make copies, and then that's for later when they have to trick Robotnik and he has to be, I forget the term, diversion. He has to be a diversion for when Knuckles hits Robotnik and able to take his power away. But aren't there like more clever or interesting ways than a dance-off? That's what I mean, like, not all the humor works. In the back of his head, it's still gotta remember it's a kids' film, and in their eyes, a kids' film needs fart jokes, because there's a bit at the beginning when Sonic was away in the city, I think Seattle, doing some superhero business. James Marsden went to his room, and I like the idea that he made this crappy looking invention to pretend to be himself. But the fact that he had to record a voice saying, "Oh, Stan Bad, they ate too many chili dogs." Then when it comes back to Sonic trying to explain to James Marsden, he's like, "Oh, I should have used real farts." Like, did that need to be in the damn thing? I mean, the 1990 Ninja Turtles film is a kid's film. That didn't need farts or fart jokes. Just because you're a kid's film does not mean you need that. Well, some kids find it funny. Well, I think they're wrong. Well, I mean, I'll put this. I don't understand it. Even as a kid, I never found it funny. That's just me. I just think it's always been stupid kind of joke, like the bomb the barrel type of joke. So yeah, it's one of those things where if it's going to continue to have that kind of humor, if it's going to continue to have that kind of honing in on the human characters and taking 20 minutes out to have this subplot that no one gives a rat's ass about, and people are just waiting to see Sonic and Tails, and of course the reason they do that is because to save money, meaning as long as these characters are on screen, a lot of money is being used up. Because of every second of every special effect, that means it's every other second of effects guys having to detail the hair, the way it moves, the way the eyes are, and there's nothing really janky, nothing really weird going on. So moments that they're not on screen, it helps with the money, helps with the budget. So then they have, let's have these scenes with these humans. They're doing this, this, and this. So for example, when they grab what they need, but then Robotnik and Knuckles get there, and then again you have the snowboard chase, which again is a fun action scene. And then they crash into bits of Hawaii, like I said, they get arrested. You know what could have worked out better? If Sonic and James Marsden get arrested, but the wife gets Tails away, and then Tails leads the rescue, because he knows how to use the... So now this is a way to implement Tails on what he can do, on what he can accomplish, on what he can showcase with his inventions, with his guns or his weapons, and what he's able to do. You could do that. And that way Tails is... Sonic saved him, Sonic saved him from the avalanche, got him to where he needs to go, got him to safety. So now Tails, I need to pay him back for him saving my life. I need to pay him back for saving my life. So I'm going to go over there, I'm going to rescue him, and things are going to work out. It'll work out for the best. Why can't you just have Tails doing all that? Like seriously, why can't you just have Tails doing all that stuff? Instead of these two women and the girl, oh, I didn't get married, I don't give a rat's ass. I don't give a shit if you didn't get married or not. I don't care. Not my business, not my problem. So again, that scene alone, just have Tails save Sonic. You saved me, now is my time to save you, and to show more of my worth. But, you know, granted Tails saved him before. So you say now this is a way of Sonic to repay the favor, but again, I thought the whole thing with the bit where it's trying to be the two women trying to get and save them, it went on for so long that honestly I just fast forward through it. I just fast forward through it because it wasn't interesting. I remember not being interesting. I would stop and listen, and yeah, it still wasn't interesting. Like I said, the temple stuff where going through all these traps to get where he needs to go, Sonic, that was a fun bit of business. Jim Carrey, when him and Knuckles are going through the traps and he thinks he's figured out the timing and then it almost barely hits his mustache. I thought that was kind of a funny moment, the way Jim Carrey played that off. I thought that Sonic being able to fight Knuckles and get a bit of a payback, especially the bit where he's bouncing back and forth and Knuckles going further into the ground. Would like a bit more of Sonic really like slowly punching and Knuckles like that. Would liked a bit more of those type of scenes. Like I said, the finale is fun. The bit on the plane, nice reference to Sonic 2. Them fighting all the little machines and then the big bad robot. There's a lot of fun to be had. There is. Even afterward, the supersonic stuff, that was a cool reference. Nice good power moment for Sonic. Even the bit at the end with the three of them playing baseball. Nice callback to the first movie, because in the first movie he had no one and he's playing baseball himself and he kind of loses it because he's by himself, and now he's got a bit of a family here. So it's, again, nice callback to the first movie. Then Idris Elba, some of the stuff like when he's with Robotnik and he's reading the text and he's reading verbatim. So, when text, there's the dot dot. When it's waiting for a reply, he just goes dot 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 dot. And the way Jim Carrey and the other guy look at him, I thought that was kind of funny. But like I said, it's the human characters and some of the comedy they work with. Like the one deputy guy who, when he hears the name Knuckles, he's like, "Oh yeah, there's a guy I knew that could put a whole fist in his mouth. If it's him we gotta deal with, we're in trouble." Shut up. Which I think that guy was on the... I didn't see the Knuckles TV show. Number one, I wasn't requested it. Number two, I heard Knuckles is barely in the show. Because that was a TV show, and they don't have as much money to have him on screen that much. So I think it's like more of that guy. I'm like, who gives a crap? That's why no one talked about... Knuckles, I would say that show was a flop. Just nobody talked about it. Nobody mentions it. And I never heard anyone liking it. It's just so... That's what I mean. If they made a TV show where it was mostly about the humans and not about Knuckles, if they did this where it's a longer film, but it's a longer film where you have entire sequences of these humans doing boring stuff, like in the deputy and the stupid jokes, or the whole wedding bit, and then like again dumb like juvenile jokes like fart jokes, and even Jim Carrey, though hater later hater, I just thought that kind of there could have been a better line for Jim. Sonic 3, I don't look forward to. I would love to be surprised. I'd love to be shocked. It's cool that Keanu Reeves is voicing Shadow, but it's going to be like a lot of times where it's going to... Okay, Shadow's story, from what I understand, is pretty serious, and I don't want to say dark, but, is that going to... Okay, that's a cool tone to have. I would appreciate that. But if it's going to then get to, Jim and his dad, another Jim Carrey, and what kind of comedy they don't have together, and James Marsden won't fit his sorry ass in there, and I just wonder like what kind of tone is going to have consistently, what kind of jokes is going to have. Are they going to work on the pacing, which need to work on this? I don't know. I mean, I guess either it's a paid request or wait and see what other people say about it. But yeah, I don't have a lot of hope because it's Hollywood. And like I said, while I liked the first two films, I thought the second was a bit of a downgrade compared with the first. if that continues, does it be the third film won't be as good as the second film? I don't know. Just we'll wait and see. But yeah, it's the same director, probably the same writers. I mean, if they're not, are you don't learn from mistakes, or do you think you didn't make any mistakes? Like what made the first one work was you did the trailer, what the fuck, and you learned from your mistakes. While I enjoy this film, this wasn't a perfect film. But what you did is you kind of took the little bits of, okay, some of the more corny, cringy jokes, and okay, the human characters, and you amplify that a bit in the second one. Now, it's helped that you have Tails and Knuckles and those characters. But what's it going to be for the third film? Again, I guess that's an answer for another day. But I do like the film as is. I still do. I'm still glad to have these. And guess we'll wait and see. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.